Ew. Hey, you guys. How is everyone doing? Something was going on with my life. So sorry, you guys. I had a funky Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi?
You had a freaky?
No,
You
funky.
said, I don't know, freaking liar.
Funky Wi-Fi. Just my husband changed us to a new Wi-Fi company, and ever since then, everything goes cray cray. Go, babe. She went outside. What was that? How's everyone doing today? I think my phone is kind of twisted. I hope everyone is having a wonderful, wonderful Friday. I was outside and I got bitten by so many mosquitoes. But so yeah, I was actually discussing my life earlier about, going back home and what that meant for me. Did a video about it. I hope that y'all go and check it out and, give me your thoughts on the video. But I was actually talking about going back home, meaning my old church, the Catholic religion. For a very long time, well, actually, because I was raised Catholic, baptized Catholic, my family did not talk about very much about the religion and how to have that connection with God. I only thought it was just going to church on Sundays, and that was the only thing. But it's actually more than that. It's actually having a relationship with God. And that's that relationship that I needed to build, and I could not find how. So for many, many years, I started trying other church, Christian church. There were, I believe it's called non-denominational, non-denomination kind of church. And although it's beautiful, I mean, they sing for about 20 minutes and, you get to sing with them. I always felt like a lot of these priests, where they were getting it wrong, it was more about kind of changing the words, or we're not changing the words, but it was more about their own life and less about talking about Jesus. And when you go to church, you want to know about God. You want to know, about the Bible, and that is what I was more looking for. So it was good. There's been a lot of good churches, and I'm very happy. I mean, especially to this one that we were going to. Oh God. Especially this one that we were attending to. It was really, really good. I ran into this church. It's called Bridge. I ran into this church because my daughter and we were going through something emotionally. And right when we were dealing with the whole drama of teenagers, we actually stumbled on the church where, as we going in there, legitimate, the priest was talking about the sermon on exactly what we were going through. And we just looked at each other and we were just like, okay, what is this? Like, are we being punked? Like, is this a joke? Is somebody told this priest that we were coming and the issues that we were having? But we felt like that was it was going to be our home church. Um, Hi, hello, Gorilla GT. Hello, you guys. Don't forget to hit the like button, please. I think it's right here and the subscriber button next to it. But you guys can let me know where y'all tuning in from. Please let me know. Gorilla Wump Wump. I don't know what that means, so if you can tell me, please let me know. But yeah, so actually, I was, I went to back to the Catholic Church, and like I said, although these churches have been amazing, what we've been at, I kept pushing away from the Catholic Church for a very, very long time. But now, just recently on Wednesday, I went back. So if I have anybody here that has ever felt betrayed by their own religion, please share with me what happened. I mean, how did this happen? How do you fall out with your own religion? Went about? Please share your story. I would love to hear it because I know there's many of us that go through that as well. We're trying to find God, and we can't find the answers within our own religion. So we move on to the next and the next and the next religion again and again. And instead of studying a little bit more about that religion, we just pushed away. And I feel that's what I did. So if you done that, do not feel bad on doing that because we all do it. It's the whole part of growing up and making your own decisions, becoming an adult. You know, your parents, they will teach you about a certain religion. Later on, when you get older, it's up to you to build your own life. You know, you can, at some point, you can't blame, you know, whoever raised you, that it's their fault, the life that you have. At some point, I want to say maybe in your mid 30s or in your beginning of 30s, everything that you're building, it's all on you. And if you're failing, it's on you. It can be because you didn't have daddy. It can be because you didn't have mommy. It can be because any other. Sorry, you guys. So I'm probably gonna be doing that because my where I put my phone. It has a little camera, and every time I do like the high five kind of sign, it will turn on and it'll start following me. So as I was saying, you know, religion, you gotta build your own meaning, what's God to you. Like I said, you know, that's you being a grown up, that's the most powerful thing that I've been able to experience is that I make my own choices. And I can no longer blame it on my parents. Hi, YM. I can no longer blame it on my parents, you know, if I failed on a choice. No, I need to take my own responsibility and say, okay, this was my own choice. Just because I didn't have a dad, you know, I keep making all these wrong choices. That's not how life works. When you grow up, it's your own choices, and I had chose to step away from religion. I chose to look away from my own religion and try to go find God in other things. You know, I did chakra, I did card, you know, reading card, tarot. I did a whole bunch of other things thinking that that's where I was going to find my answers. And I did not. I actually, it got worse. I grew more distance away from God, and I never cared to even want to go back to my Catholic church. Yes, you're a grown woman. Your parents have nothing to do with it. Yes, that is true. And you still can see a lot of grown men, right, in their 50s and still making the wrong choices, cheating, doing all this, and saying that because they grew up in an environment like that, that's who they are. And that's not how it works. Tony, hi, Tony. What's up, Tony? How's everyone doing? Please, y'all, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. That would love your support. And please let me know, where are y'all tuning in from? I am in Austin, Texas. I want to know, where are you guys tuning in from? But like I was saying, it's true, YM. You know, it's just, I know, I'm telling you, I know people, they're still, you know, grown people, and they're making the wrong choices, and they're just blaming it on the life that they had. But, you know, in order for us to do that, it's just going to, I mean, for us to do that, it's going to, we're going to spiral worse out of control. And we have to take control of our own life, you know, and we have to stop blaming other people for the mistakes that we are doing. It's on us. It's on us. And if we failed, it's okay to fail. It's okay. That's part of life. That's part of growing up. Blame others, so we tend to blame our parents. Yes, yes, you know, I was going to therapy, and in therapy, they always there was this one therapist that kept telling me, you know, tell me about your growing up and this and that, and she kept saying I have so much trauma, and that's why I am where I'm at. And I'm just looking at her, and I said, no, at some point, I healed all of that. Now, as a grown woman, I am making a different choice. So I'm worrying more about what I can do for myself now. The past is done. I can't do anything about it. What happened to me as a child, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't because I chose it. But now that I'm a grown person, I get to make the choice. I cannot say no more because my parents divorced or my dad wasn't in my life. I keep making these poor decisions. No, I have to let that go and know that I need to take accountability for my own mistakes and my own choices. You know, raising my child, being a wife, all these other responsibilities, these are what I'm doing. You know, that's what it's important. Christy, cheers, cheers. Oh, wine cheers, bling. Arabic. Hi, Arabic. YM, right? Thank you, girl. Thank you. Tony Posey, you're amazing. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. But you know that's it's one of the choices of being a grown person, and I chose to. You know, my parents growing up with religion, it was not much of a religion. It was more that obligation or that we must go to church on Sunday and then we did our deed. And growing up, I realized that it wasn't that way, that that's not a relationship with God. So for 7 years, I just pushed away and I kept looking for my own, my own guidance, Reiki, and all these other things, thinking that that's where I'm going to find God and that peace within me. And, it's like I said, and that's the one thing that I love being a grown up is that I make my own choices. And God knew that I was going to drift away. He was never going to, his hand was always going to be on me. I was going to be the one looking for other things. But he knew eventually, and he still knows that eventually I am going to find peace in my heart again. And that's what it mattered to me. So every time I always tell God, I am sorry that I'm mad at you right now, or I'm sorry that I'm drifting away, or I'm sorry that I cannot find you. I know you're here, but I can't feel you. And I needed to feel him because to me it's important to feel him. Like there's people out there that can feel the presence of God, if with what they do when they ask for things or when they say thank you, they can feel that strong presence of him. Do you are you is anybody here on this page, does anyone has ever felt that presence of God, that strong presence? And I say that because I stopped feeling it for a very very long time, and that what grew I grew more angry with him. Thank you so much, King. Appreciate it. Sorry, I can't say six. I'm thinking that's what you're saying on your name. Um, but and I grew more far away from God as much as I can. But every single day, I would say, "Forgive me for the decisions that I'm making. I know you're watching over me. One day, I won't be mad at you. When that time comes, please just help me seek you." Really? Can you tell me how when did you started feeling like that? I love to hear that story. You don't hear that many times people have, losing faith. You hear more of those that they have found God and their life is amazing, but you hardly hear about people that have lost their faith and how their life is. At least for me, when I started dealing with that, I couldn't find anyone on YouTube with that, seeing that raw moment of them, that true moment, that current moment of losing faith. I taught feeling his presence and felt like he didn't like. I am so sorry. In 2013. Wow. So how were you able to move on from that? How do you feel his presence now that that you went through that dark path? See, I think that we all go through that. We all have a time of our life where we must go through something hard in order to learn from that, right? Because I do truly think that there's something in the future that is going to be big, whether it's good or bad, it's going to be so big, and that God made us go through that dark path because he's getting us ready for something. So just to give a few examples, and I always said it, growing up without a father um, helped me to be prepared to whenever he would try to come back into my life and leave again and come back and leave again, not miss him anymore. It's like he prepared me for those moments. And the day that he gets to go with the Lord, it's not going to hurt because I already have not had him in so many years. Mind you, that it was his decision to not be in my life. And knowing that, I'm like, okay, I'm good. God knows my heart. He knows that I tried. The day that he gets to go with God, I'm not going to miss him. It's going to feel like he just doesn't want to talk to me for a long time. Over here, the only one. Yes, I understand. It's really hard. We get to go through dark, dark, dark moments that we disattach, that we kind of look away from God because we're not feeling His presence. And I wish it was easier, right? I wish that we can be like, okay, God, I need you now and feel it immediately. I don't know if you feel that yet, but I'm working on that. But despite that anger, despite that path, how rough it is, we have to always choose to keep finding him. We have to always choose to look for him and build that relationship with him. He never leaves us. I always feel like he always has a hand on us. It's just we are the one that choose to look away. And when we are ready, when we are, make that decision of listening, that can happen at any moment. That can happen today, that can happen tomorrow. that is when he that is when we get to hear God more often, and we get to feel his presence. It's that is beautiful. The fact that you are changing and things have changed for you, I love to hear those stories. They're truly inspirational, because it helps you to, for me, for you to, what you just said, it helps me to not feel alone. And there are many of us that are going through the same situation, many of us that don't want to admit that we're angry and that we can't hear him. So we fill our busy times with other things. We fill our time with being angry at somebody else. We fill our time by looking at things on YouTube to get that anger out towards somebody else. I know for sure for me sometimes, and I've seen it, that whenever I'm hurting, I tend to scroll on my phone trying to find the answers, to help me find that peace within me. But it gets worse because YouTube is filled with a lot of fakeness, a lot of people selling you that they have a perfect life, that you just got to follow the steps and you're going to be able to hear God, or you're going to follow the steps and you're going to be able to hear the Holy Spirit. And I feel that those things are very misleading because there's no steps. There's really no steps. The relationship where I get to meet God, it's different to how you make God king. You make God in a different way, and you were able to hear him and what you went through in your own way. That is your own personal relationship that you have built with him. And when we're looking at these, Christian people saying, these are the steps that you have to take, it's kind of like I said, very misleading because that relationship is different. There's no steps. There's literally just you calling God, and that's it. That's all what is required. The rest is opening your heart. And and that is what I'm realizing a lot, because I did go through the whole thing of looking for steps. Maybe I'm not doing this right. Maybe I'm not waking up at the right time. Maybe I'm not eating the right food, and this is why, and this is why. And you lose control and you get worse instead of better. But there, God is there. He we just have to be like, okay, fine. What do you need? What do you want? And it is scary too, because sometimes we feel that he does go silent on us, right? The answer from nobody had the answer from me. King, I'm going to be having a meeting, a meetup with a priest from a Catholic church. I'm a Catholic. I was born Catholic, and I'm trying to go back to my religion. It's been 7 years, but I'm gonna be asking a few questions. I have an Instagram and an email. If you want to send me an email, with any questions that you have, please feel free. I'm going to ask a whole bunch of questions to the priest, about, pain and the Holy Spirit and a whole bunch of whys. And because that is the interaction that I need. The church that we had been going to, when I reached out one time and I let them know all these issues that I was going through, um, they did not reach out to me till like 3 weeks later. And when they did, they said, oh, well, there's a group of women that can help you out. When I went to the group of women, Nobody had the chance to sit down and answer all my questions. And it kind of bothered me because I feel like when people are looking for answers, they're lost. They're telling their priest, I'm lost, I'm hurting. And they just send you somewhere, kind of like, I feel in a dismissive kind of way, like, I don't want to handle your questions. um, it kind of brings you down. It makes you feel more alone. So when I reached out to the Catholic Church on Wednesday, within like 2 or 3 hours, a priest emailed me back, and he said he was more than willing to meet with me and answer all the questions, no matter what time it's going to, no matter how long it's going to take, that he was going to answer all my questions. Paul was the false prophet Jesus warned us about. Really? Okay. Okay, Pauline, I see what you're saying. How do you come with that? How do you determine that? How did you read a book about it? Please let me know. I definitely want to read about it. I never heard of that one, so that's a first. But Kings, if you want to send me any questions that you have for the priest, let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer them, and just, I mean, I'd be more than happy to ask them any questions, and on your behalf. Please feel free to do so. I have an email and an Instagram. Feel free to reach out. The meeting, I was planning to do it. I was planning to record it, but I feel that because it's very intimate and it's my first time having a conversation with the priest, I kind of want to keep that personal. I am hoping that maybe he can have an interview with me, and anybody that had a question, they can just send them out, and I'll be more than happy to make a video about it and have and people to see him answering those questions. Mel, oh, thank you so much. Pauline Christian, Matthew 24. Okay, I'm gonna read that part. Definitely, I'm gonna read it. Like I said, I'm not a Bible expert, but I'm trying to learn about the Bible as much as I can, and this is why I'm gonna have that meeting with the priest. To straight path. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. But if anyone has a question in regards to that, please feel free to send it out. I'm gonna ask, and I'm hoping that the priest does not get frustrated with me. Like I said, I'm a person that I'm always asking why this, why that. I go to GPT, so I don't know if y'all tend to, ask questions to GPT, but I do a lot. Some of the questions do make sense when he answers them, and the reason why I ask, because none of the persons in my own church, they're scholars, so it would be really hard, um, to go ask those questions to them. Especially when I found out about Paul, and I needed to know what Paul, and the Paul, I was able to see that he was Saul before, and the reason he preached with both names, it was because one, it was his Hebrew, whenever he would preach to the Hebrew community, and then the other one was when it was a Christian community that he would preach to. So his name will change because of that. And I found out the culture back then, why the Romans, believed in other things. What type of beliefs did they have? How was the government back then? And because of GPT was, it taught me a whole bunch of things and about that world back then, I was able to understand why the laws were the way they were. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I'm not gonna lie to you. If I would have asked that to my Christian, the Bible study for women, nobody would have had told me that before. So and Bible study is pretty much, there's a certain time, so you have to hurry up and you can't ask too many questions because everyone has an agenda and you have to follow to that agenda. So the fact that I went in there with asking questions and people were more like getting annoyed, I'm like, yeah, this does not seem like the thing for me. What about Islam? What do I think about Islam? I'm not very familiar with Islam. I'm not, I was saying before in my other life that my family, my grandfather, it's actually half, well, he's actually full Lebanese. My dad is the one who's half Lebanese. But when my great grandparents migrated from Lebanon all the way to South America, running away from everything, They had always guided us and told us that we were to never, ever, ever, in the history of our whole life, look anything into Lebanese people. Like that was the rule number one. No dating Lebanese, no, none of that. We were in South America or we were in the United States, and that is the only language we were allowed to learn. That's it. So when my father ended up finding out that at some point I was dating a Middle Eastern, he just told me that my grandfather is rolling in his own grave. That he was not happy, and that was not what I was supposed to do. And it's just it was not accepted. Although we're part, our background is Lebanese. We just never learned anything about our own culture. We have tried, but there's so many stories about our own family, and there's not much about my grandfather that we can go by. So it's really really complicated. So I'm very much hopeful that one day I get to find out what happened, the whole history about him. We just know a little bit of them. Question, and don't get discouraged from faith alone. Jesus taught us to have an eye to see. Yes. Yes, it does. It's funny that you're saying that because years ago, someone told me that for questioning God, I was going to be punished, and I thought that was pretty interesting because I really thought about it. I'm like, God, so I'm asking question, why God, why God? Am I being punished? This is why things are getting worse. But with time, I learned that asking questions, seeking answers, it was only going to lead me more to God. And that is the whole point. And now that, I have gone through a long path of this whole journey of faith, I'm noticing that asking questions is the start of that relationship that you're building with God, with Jesus. That's just the start. Imagine where you're going to be 5 years from that moment or 10 years from there. It's a beautiful thing. I think that not asking, it's us still thinking that we can handle our own life versus asking. It's now being more curious about, wait, what is this God that people are asking about, what people are talking about? What is this God that people are saying that he heals broken hearts and helps us and this and that. And I think that is the most important thing, very important thing, to start asking questions. So that is so interesting that you said that, because like I said, I had been told, don't ask questions to God, because if you ask, you're going to get punished. Or if you're looking, you're going to get punished. And there's actually in the Bible something, if you can tell me, maybe you know where to find it, but there's a phrase, something that says, seek and you will find, knock and doors will be open, something like that. And I thought it was so interesting because that is what we should all be doing. We should all be knocking for answers, looking for answers to build that relationship with Him. So, where are you guys? If you guys can please also don't forget to hit that like button, please. Let's get some numbers up. Hit that subscribe right here, and let me know what y'all tuning in from. Love to hear what y'all tuning in from. I just recently did a video today and I posted the video. I haven't done a video in a very long time. But the video talked about the Catholic Church. You okay? Oh, the video talked about the Catholic Church. Thank you, you guys, for your like. Appreciate it. It went up 4. I celebrate every single one of them. But I went back to the church and I thought it was really interesting on what the priest talked about on Wednesday on, and these are things that when I hear a priest saying it, it kind of seems like it's just more stuck in my head. But he mentioned about Jesus telling Peter or Simon, some of us know him, Simon, but Peter and Simon are the same person. But he asked him, "Do you love me, Peter?" And he asked that 3 times, and Peter said yes. And Jesus' response was, "Take care of my sheeps." If you would tell me about this 5 years ago, I would tell you sheeps. What do you mean? That God didn't leave no sheeps. Did he have a farm? It did not make sense. But I know what sheep means. You know, sheep it's you. Sheeps it's your family. Sheeps it's your loved ones, your neighbors. That's what we are. We are a sheep, and we have that responsibility to help one another, to love one another, to guide every person in the right path in the Word of God. Now, someone once asked me, is it just the Bible where I'm going to be able to find God? And I say, no, that's just the start. That's just a start to find God. The rest is when you close that Bible, what you read, how you're going to carry it out through your day. That is a different, a different way to build that relationship with Him. Are you just reading it and just letting it go and just I don't know, thinking that maybe you're going to get a miracle based on what you read? Or are you reading and implementing what you read in your daily life for that day? How are you carrying that word of God? That is what is important. It's not just finding it in the Bible, it's opening the Bible and how are you walking with it? Um, he gives us examples on what we can do. And we forget that. And we think that just because we open the Bible, Jesus is going to be there. No, definitely not. You know, I don't know if you ever, when you're in a relationship, what do? You don't just go introduce yourself and think that that person is going to be your boyfriend or your girlfriend. You actually have to get to know that person a lot more to get to have a relationship. It's the same thing with Jesus. It's the same thing he's asking you. It sounds simple, right? But it is. It's very, very simple, but we're choosing to look away and we're choosing to see other things in videos that make no sense. As a matter of fact, and I was sharing this with someone earlier, you know, we have a beautiful platform. I'm never against YouTube. I'm never against GPT. I'm never against Instagram and Facebook. I'm not against any of this platform because we live in a new generation. This is a new era that we all have to evolve and we all have to get used to. No matter how mad we get, technology is going to grow. It's never going to be stopped. My thing is, what are you watching to grow your brain, to grow your spirit, to have a spiritual growth? What are you watching? There's lives where I've seen it where somebody has a toilet seat and poopy and it's just cursing at people, saying bad words and how much he hates them, and that person tends to have 15,000 views. I'm all about having YouTube, but learn how to use it, how to communicate with other Christians, how to learn from other Christians, the Bible, because everyone has a different definition sometimes of what we're reading in the Bible, and that's something that I learned. I can legitimately read you one passage right now, a verse in the Bible. It will be the same one that you read. And then I will ask you, what do you think about it? And the way you're going to answer it is going to be completely different than what I thought. And why does that happen? It's because whatever you're going through in life in that moment, that verse is going to have that meaning for what you're going through in life. It's going to be different than mine. You can be going through something with finances, I can be going through something with work. And that phrase, that same phrase that you and I read, it's going to mean differently. Trust me. Give it a test, get with a friend, get with a sister or somebody, and just both read that and see and share your opinions, and you're going to notice the difference on that verse. What how she took it or how you took it is it's going to be completely different. um so like I was saying, I'm not against YouTube, I'm not against this platform. What I'm against is what we are watching, how we are filling our brain with our spirits, our ourselves. How are we growing? What you're watching, is it helping you grow, or is it just allowing other people to insult you, or things like that? It makes no sense. My husband has a page with gun. I'm up for it. People want to know about gun. There's some people that don't they're about to purchase a gun and they don't know what to purchase, whether they're women. There's been women that go into his page and they'll ask questions. And I think that is important because it's a type of education. But if you go open a page where somebody is just yelling at you or saying horrible things, that's just putting our spirit more down and more down and more down. And then we start wondering why is that we're feeling empty? Why is that we're feeling like life doesn't make sense and we have nowhere to go in life? Well, it's because it matters what you're watching. It really, really does. You guys don't forget to hit that like button right here and the subscribe button over here. Really grateful that y'all have joined in. I'm going to step away, but I wanted to say thank you for everyone for joining this live. Again, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Go check out the video that I just posted. Leave me a comment on the video if y'all want to hear anything in the future about any type of topic. Let me know as well. I'll be more than happy to do some research. I love you guys. Have an amazing, amazing weekend. Hopefully, I get to do a live tomorrow. If not, that y'all just have a blessed, blessed day. And may God always be with you and protect you, watch over you, and may you always be filled with love. Bye, y'all.